Happy Friday. Happy Friday night. I never know when this thing is starting. Happy Friday night, you guys. We are here to convert you kale haters to kale lovers and show you some ways kale that you will absolutely love. Okay, I think we're live, Dan.
Okay.
It's always a little sketchy at the beginning of this Facebook Live. We got used to using Zoom, and then all of a sudden we're using the Facebook Lives.
It's a little bit different.
It is different.
The way it starts up, you never really know when it's going to start up. And
all right, excuses. Here we go. So kale chips. I want to give you guys some tips. Now, you guys can buy kale chips at the store, but number one, they are very expensive.
Very expensive.
And
so easy to make.
Exactly. And number two, they just usually have too much junk on them. So you don't need all that junk. You can make them, and they're really actually very inexpensive to make yourself. So one of the key things, first of all, to kale is to strip it. Okay, now it is Friday night, so maybe we can talk about stripping kale. That's
right.
Okay.
But it's how do you get that big vein out of the middle? And this is curly kale. Kale comes in so many different ways. Pamela really likes the curly kale.
I like the curly kale for the kale chips because all the little junk that I put on top,
texture.
It gets in, and it makes it crispy when it goes in the air fryer.
No, I think it's a great idea. But there's other kale that you can buy. Leafy kale.
Dinosaur kale.
That makes for great salad, too.
Yeah.
So, but this is a curly kale, and you can see on the back it has this large vein that needs to come out. You can't eat that. So all you do is you take your finger and your thumb and you make the bottom so that you put the leaves down at the base of the stem and pull that right out. And usually you can get it out so that your kale can stay together somewhat. You saw some of the smaller pieces fell. But if I just go quickly, I can just strip the kale, strip the kale, strip the kale.
And then you can make it smaller if you want, or if you still don't want even that little piece of the vein, you just go like that and just take it off. It's super, super easy.
If we're making salads, leaving a little bit of the vein in isn't really good. But when you're making kale chips, leaving a little bit of the vein in, especially on this kind of curly kale, kind of holds it together. So we're going to do first how we make our kale salad.
The kale salad. So the tips to the kale salad, you guys, is making the kale small enough so that you can actually chew it when it's in the salad.
Remember, kale is cabbage. That's all it is. It's in the cabbage family. It's very bitter. It's kind of rough like cabbage too. So what you have to do is tame it. And how do you tame it? Well, you can cook it. Sometimes sautéing it will tame it, or roasting it, like when we're making kale chips. But if you're going to make a salad, you want to make it raw. So acid will tame it. So whether that's with a vinegar or whether it's with like lemon juice, and you can use it from a lemon, but I like to use lemon juice. That way you don't get all the seeds, and it's just really gets the acid. It's much faster.
Yeah, it's 100% lemon juice, nothing added to it. So
the other thing I wanted to say was when I brought this kale home, it was a little limp. Remember that these are live plants, and they're just trimmed off of the kale plants before they bring them to the store from the farm. They're just trimmed down. So all you have to do is do a fresh cut. Put them in the sink with some water, or if you have a big bowl, put them in the sink so the stems are in the water, and they'll come right back to life again once they get hydrated. So that's what I did when we first got home with our kale.
So cutting it small enough so that you can actually chew it. Now I know my daughter Sarah is on the live this evening, and one of Sarah's tips is I've seen her do two things. One is she'll put the kale into her Vitamix or her NutriBullet or whatever it is, and it's fat,
Right.
Look at 3 little kids under the age of 7. That girl doesn't have any time, okay?
Right.
So she's going to put it in there, and it's going to chop up really nice and small. She makes it nice and small when she brings over her salad.
Or you might already chopped up
That's
kale.
her second thing that she does. A bag of it, and it's all pre-washed.
Some of the things
cut
I
up.
don't like about that is you get a lot of stems with it.
Yep.
So it gets to be a little crunchy. You really have to tame it for a long time. What I like to do is get the stems out, like I showed you, stack the leaves one on top of each other like this, and then just run the blade down to chop into little squares. And I just run my one. And all the way through, and then I just run the knife blade going the other way. And just get these into small
Look at you
little
guys.
squares.
You're hearing this from a surgeon, okay? Take note of what he's telling you here, okay? This is big stuff.
This is
inside scoop kind of stuff.
trying different things, going to restaurants, paying attention to the way different chefs, what I like best. Some bigger pieces that I left in here, I just chop them all up. But once you get it down to
Nice
these
and
small pieces, now you add the lemon juice, and that's when it starts to break down.
It's still going to be tough to eat. Like you guys, for you kale haters, you may be trying to eat this. You can't. Okay, I mean, you'd lose 25 pounds just trying to eat this stuff. Like it's like a lot of energy.
And
you
I
can't do it.
I like cutting it up myself too because I can get it as small as I like it. Sometimes those bags of kale, chopped kale, they're still big pieces. And then I just take my lemon juice and sprinkle it over and then massage it in. And when you massage it in, that's how you tame your kale. That's taming the kale, just like this.
You're still going to let it sit for a while.
Then we have to let it sit for about 15 minutes before then you want to make your salad.
I'm going to post in here my absolute favorite kale salad recipe. Got it from my daughter, Sarah. Maybe if she isn't too busy, she can post it here. If not, I'll post it after the live. But it is fantastic. I'm sure I will convert you guys to kale after you try this recipe and these techniques. Okay, so that's for taming the kale. Now you could have used some vinegar as well.
Right,
What would you
balsamic
use?
vinegar.
Apple cider vinegar?
Apple cider vinegar. Depends on what kind of dressing you want.
Okay.
You know, what kind of flavor you're going for, depending on the meal that you're making.
Okay. But that's with the lemon juice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. Now I'm making some well, I mean, I know, but you know, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to strip
Again,
the
we're using curly kale, so you want to strip out that vein.
Look at that in one swoop. Dan,
Once you get used to it, you get the pressure, the right amount of pressure.
You're actually
to
working
get it.
out while you're making the kale. So.
Getting some of my physical activity in. Getting these all stripped up. And again, it's okay if you leave a little bit of the vein in there when you're making chips because it holds the leaf together. Then once I have these leaves, I like to leave the leaf. I don't like to cut it longitudinally or down the long side. I like to cut it across the leaf so that it gives it some support.
Because you want to make it like a chip. You don't want to make it too flaky, right? You want to have like a good piece of chip there.
So I will cut it into bigger pieces along, going across the vein so that it holds together a little bit better.
And guys, one of the biggest tips here.
Well, I just want to say, goes into the air fryer or into the oven so that it can be roasted and made into chips. It's going to shrink. So you want to leave them a little big so you'll have some chips.
Okay, great. But one of the biggest tips for making the kale chips delicious and roasty is putting them in a plastic bag, okay? And then you can drizzle the olive oil, salt, pepper. We use nutritional yeast. We haven't talked about nutritional yeast on this 5-day challenge, but this stuff is gold, okay? If you like a cheesy flavor, this get to know nutritional yeast. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's ground up pretty small. Nutritional yeast is so good for you. It has so much, a quarter cup gives you 8 grams of protein. Really loves to feed that microbiome too with all the fiber, and it's loaded with B vitamins. That's got to be its biggest advantage, is all the B vitamins for your skin, your hair, all the folic acid that's in it. But for people that eat plant-based, B12 is a challenge because you can't get B12 from plants. So nutritional yeast, those little buggers, those fungi in there that make this yeast is so good.
And
they provide us with the B12.
Sprinkle it on your pasta, your stir fry. It's something that helps when we're making our mac and cheese. Oh my gosh, it's incredible. We make a cashew nutritional yeast. I use that for my creamy corn chowder recipe. It's unbelievable. But we're going to put this on. You don't have to. You could just put salt, pepper, garlic, whatever flavor you eat, whatever. But we just like the salt, pepper, and some nutritional yeast with the garlic powder, right, Dan?
Yes, one of the techniques that Pamela showing you is putting it in the bag with a little bit of olive oil. Another technique is using the brush and just brushing the olive oil on. Put a little bit on the brush and then make sure you get it in all the little nooks and crannies on this curly kale that you have in front of you. The other technique, like Pamela said, put olive oil in the bag and shake it on up.
Yeah, because what you can do when you put it in the bag is that you can really get it all over, and you're not going to, douse it in the olive oil.
So you put a little bit,
right?
And then you want to capture some of the air as you seal it so that it's all big and fluffy, and then you can really shake it all up.
It's fun. You can have the kids help you with this. Don't do this yourself. This is a team sport, you guys, okay? Kids love to do this. Then we get the nutritional yeast.
No. Once it's done, we like salt, pepper, and garlic on our nutritional yeast. I'm sorry, on our kale, on our nutritional yeast. So I got a little bit of garlic powder, and I put a little bit of salt, pepper.
Pepper shakers. They're from like a
long
time ago.
And now
Must have been a wedding gift. Must have been a wedding gift because those are old. Anybody have those old colonial salt and pepper shakers?
And then we can get that all shaken up, and we can add some yeast.
Nutritional yeast.
Dan, some of that fungi. I love mushrooms. Everyone knows how much I love mushrooms.
I didn't know that was a fungi.
Yeah, it's yeast. Fungus.
Okay.
Yeast is fungus.
Maybe, but you know what?
Look at the way this is mixing. Show that. The way that's all getting throughout the bag, getting all over that curly kale.
I'd say a little more nutritional yeast in there.
You like that a little more?
Yeah, I like mine.
Very cheesy.
I like loaded kale, right? Yeah, I like cheesy. Just because I don't eat cheese doesn't mean I don't like the taste.
Gee, it took me a second to get that bag open.
Oh, well, I need to get to the gym. All right. This is just a Friday night at Casa Witkowski,
and you can see how that's getting all the kale lathered up with all that nutritional yeast, and then it's really easy. You just take the bag and dump it in the air fryer.
Okay. You can. I'll put a recipe for this on here, just so that to remind you guys, if you are putting it in the oven, just so that you have an idea of the temperature and the length of time. But you know what? If you put it in the air fryer,
it's like 5 minutes.
You know what? We're irreverent with our air fryer. We never heat it up. We just throw the food in. We usually put it around between 360 and 390. And you know what? I can kind of smell when the stuff is done, but I don't know, within 10 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes. I made this a little bit earlier. You can see how nice and crispy and crunchy it is. Mmm.
Good.
Mmm.
Well, I would have some right now, but then I'll have kale in my tea during the live. So,
I don't mind.
All right. But that's the end product. It's delicious.
That's how we do it.
Okay. So we got that roasty kale chips. Crunchy roasted kale chips. Now, chickpeas are another great snack, and you can also roast them. You're looking for a little crunch, maybe like a little salt or a little, again, like go crazy with seasonings and herbs. You can put whatever you want, whatever you love, and you can put those on. So we are just going to make these. Sometimes, Dan, you tend to make the chickpeas a little on the spicy side. I don't know if you're doing that tonight.
I'm going to show you, how I end up spicing it up a little. And again, just paying attention at restaurants and asking questions. When you taste some restaurants that are plain, just ask questions. Usually the server, they'll find out for you,
Sure.
so you can get some tips.
Did you know that some beans come in boxes instead of cans?
Mhm.
Maybe you would prefer them in the boxes. When come in boxes, we'll get them in the boxes. These are also no salt added, so be sure to look for your beans with no salt or low salt if you can. All right. So chicken. It's a matter of again, we want a good with these. Now the kids love this stuff. Okay.
So when you have them in the box, remember you just take the corners, you pinch the corners, pop up the top, cut it with scissors, and then what I like to do is I like to give. So I have
say something. All this liquid that's in the chickpeas. Do you know that there's a name for this? This is a bonus, guys. Okay, this is like a Friday and Saturday Night Live at the same time. Okay, aquafaba. It's called,
Aquafaba.
and you can actually use this. We should actually save it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, put it in a cup, Dan.
Okay.
So, but you're going to drain it to make the obviously to make the roasted chickpeas. But you can use this for sauces and things. I'm going to post a couple recipes where you can use. My friend Jonathan Kirkendall told me about aquafaba, but you can use it.
Loaded
Okay.
again with
So,
protein
here,
and that
just gonna-
proteinaceous fluid that
Dan, please, not around the kids.
makes it a great binder too when you're
Okay.
using it in recipes.
Aquafaba. We'll change. That'll be for another live.
So what I do is I rinse my chickpeas off because I like to get them dry. So I'm getting some of that aquafaba off. And if you don't, your chickpeas didn't come salt free, then also it gets rid of any of the salt that might be on it. Sometimes some of the brands will have low salt legumes or beans or chickpeas, and then others will have no salt. This one happens to be no salt. So once I have them rinsed off, I put them on a towel, just a dish towel, because what I like to do, and it's going to make them crispier, is get some of the loose ones. I rub them in the dish towel, and it gets some of the loose coverings that you see, those white
Where did you
coverings.
learn that?
I just tried different techniques. I tried rubbing it. I said, how can I rub it with something dry? Because I want to eventually get these peas dry anyway, so that I can get some little bit of olive oil on them, salt and pepper, and I don't want all those coverings clogging up my air fryer.
So that's a key to getting anything crisp that you're, either air frying or roasting in the oven is to dry it.
And
not
just
have
take
it
all the loose
wet.
ones off.
And then he takes the coverings off. I'm going to be honest with you. I do the drying, but I'm not so fastidious about taking all the coverings
and
off.
You don't have to be. I just get the loose ones off. If they're just sitting there, then I just get the loose ones off.
Okay.
And then even like we do with everything else, I then put them in the bowl, and I use my brush along with my olive oil, so I'm sparingly using the olive oil. Not just throwing olive oil on my chickpeas, I'm putting it on the brush and then brushing it throughout.
Another
chickpeas.
Another thing that I'll do sometimes is I'll put the olive oil in a bowl so that I can see how much olive oil. But instead, so you actually see it. Like
That's a good way to do it. That's a great way to control the amount of oil.
Mhm.
With mine just going fast like this, I know if I just fill that brush tip, I can get just a very small amount of olive oil. And then again, it's a little salt, it's a little pepper.
No spices tonight?
A little, everything starts with onions and garlic, a little garlic powder.
Dan's not Italian,
Here's a
but
little-
I think I've made him into Italian.
A little onion powder,
Right, Ma? Ma's on the live tonight. We'll make Dan
and I mix that up in
an
the bowl.
Italian cook.
Just grab a spoon and just stir it around to get all those flavors in there. Then, if you have any cayenne
Dan, just
pepper,
slice.
you can just take it with very, very lightly. You can see I'm not even shaking. I'm just trying to get it to the edge so I can very lightly put a little bit on there because that is very spicy. And then I mix that in too. And
that's
once it's
going-
all mixed in,
Yeah.
back in the air fryer. Just dump it in the air fryer. Or if you're cooking it in the oven and you're doing it on a cookie sheet, without any sides. You don't want to put in anything that has sides.
Because it will steam it.
Right.
If
you
put
want
it
it
in
to
a
dry out.
Put it in a deep pan, a glass pan.
It's gonna roast it. So the cookie sheet, and I always put parchment paper on the cookie sheet. Mm-hmm. The parchment paper prevents it from sticking, and it creates that dry environment that you're looking for. Same thing, 360 degrees. Once they're all cooked up,
look at that.
They're nice and crispy, and they run like popcorn. So tasty.
Nice and crispy.
So full of nutrition. Mm-hmm. A great legume. They go great in salads. You can just throw this in a salad, and it gives you that crunch instead of the bread. What was those called? Croutons that people make. These make more nutritionally dense croutons. That's how I like to use them.
Also, if you have a lot and you're not eating them all, in one sitting, right? Hopefully, you're not going to eat all these in one sitting. Put them in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
And then throw them back in the air fryer real quick just to crisp them up. If they do get a little bit soft, they're good. They're good soft too. Mm-hmm. They're great. But that's a good tip also with any roasted vegetables that you're making. For years and years, we made vegetables in a glass pan at a baking dish, and the vegetables were delicious, but they came out really soft because they actually was steamed.
Yeah.
We didn't realize it.
It was just the sides holding in that soft vegetables. You couldn't get them crispy until I asked the chef. And as soon as I asked the chef,
how did those get so crispy?
They just told me on a cookie sheet.
On a cookie sheet, baking sheet that doesn't have a big lip, parchment paper, spread it out, one layer.
As one layer as you can make it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So
it's great.
So that's what's going on there. So we've got the kale, we got the chickpeas, and
so we made kale salad. Show you how to chop it up real fine.
Yep.
Treat kale like cabbage. The finer you can chop it, the more surface area is exposed, so that when you add the acid, break it down, much it raw, chewing and chewing and chewing, you're able to chew it almost like lettuce. Mm-hmm. And then we made kale chips, and kale chips again in the air fryer with that nutritional yeast in that bag to really get it all spread in there nice and evenly. Fantastic tip. And the last thing was the roasted chickpeas, and I roasted them in the air fryer just before we went on live. I have a few to show you, but I mean the tip there is to get some of those the shells off that are loose, and then just brush it lightly with olive oil. And then I use onions and garlic like always, a little salt and pepper to season it, and then cayenne pepper, very lightly on cayenne pepper. And that really wasn't too spicy, was it?
No, not at all.
No, that was just delicious.
Bon appetit.
Bon appetit.
So we looked at, we have over 200 people in this 5-day challenge, which, we're like, it's awesome. I'm just we're both so thrilled that you guys are here in this group, and I'll certainly be doing this challenge again at another point. But so many of you, when you answer the little questionnaire coming in, have very similar challenges, and many of the same types of things that are going well. Although we have some people on like one end of the spectrum, they're like 95% plant-based. They're just trying to fine tune things right now. And they've, many of you have been on this journey with us since, almost the beginning 10 years ago,
right.
Because we've just known you so long. And so that's great. And so you're maybe a little further ahead, but almost like so many, overwhelmingly people needed help with like prepping, just like that time management piece. Knowing like what to eat, like just not being at a loss, and just saying, okay, I know exactly what I'm going to have this week. I know what those meals are going to be. And then also getting your family on board. And of course that was a struggle for us, and that's still an ongoing journey. I mean, we have 6 kids, and they're going in different ends.
Based.
Well, it's difficult. They're in situations situations where it'd be, it's like they'd either not eat or they're
Right.
going to eat something. If the team is coming home from a game and, they ordered, 24 cheese pizzas and that's the only thing
That's
they
all
have,
there is.
they don't really have a lot of options. So, so that can be absolutely be a challenge. And so, it's just about though doing what you can while you're at home. I can't emphasize that enough. Probably saw me put that in the chat like a dozen times. What you can.
Make your home the fortress. Create a fortress around it so that everything is protected inside your home. You don't have the bad choices. You don't have all the processed food, all the dairy products. You have the food that's going to love you back.
Exactly. So at least you have a good chance most of the day, most of the week to do well. And, it isn't about being plant perfect. And at least for us, it's about being plant-based. We can certainly, lead you to those resources if you wanted to be plant-based. People who have chronic diseases, people who have had heart attacks or
diabetes,
want to prevent a heart attack, at least a plant perfect so that you can get on track and then maintain, or get off medications and, get back on track to health and rather than being in that disease state. So,
right.
so those options are there, but, those are the things that, we're working on and we work on with each other. We have accountability. But we have our signature 3-4-5. Some of you about our signature 3-4-5 meal planning. You discover which 3 breakfasts, 4 lunches, 5 dinners that you're going to eat, regularly. It's so funny because when we were first starting on this journey and transitioning and we were saying, okay, we kind of sketched out, what are things that we're eating regularly and feeding our family regularly? Okay. It's about the same things all the time,
And that's, we would love to continue to help people understand how to have to guess so that you know what you can do when you're home in your protected area because you got your ingredients already all set. And how do you set that all up?
Exactly. So we were saying, what would be one of the best ways that we can continue on this journey with everyone and help you discover that and their family loves them back. And so we are really pleased to announce to you first, and we've
so exciting.
Never done this before, so you guys are pioneers if you come on board.
And I was thinking, Pamela, that this not only shows their commitment to this plant-based lifestyle and this whole food lifestyle, but it also shows our commitment on how we can help deliver the nation for those.
I mean, we have this 10-year journey that we've been on, and we have a lot of shortcuts. We have that we know we could help you with. We have a team of experts in the lifestyle field from all over the world that we want to bring to you. People who are chef MDs, people who are plant-based pediatricians, people who know more about sleep and restoration than we do.
Even some of the people that I have learned from reading their books.
Yes.
I've shown you my library many times, and those will get also to help you.
Right. So we are offering a membership, and for you, anybody who enters early, anybody who signs up before December 1st, 2020, it will be $27 a month. You do not have to commit to more than a month or more than 2. What I say to people is let's start 2021 off ahead of schedule. Not wait till January 1st. Let's start on our journey. And so we'd love to have you join us, of course, for a lifetime, but at least take the plunge and get a head start on 2021. We're going to put a link to the membership in the group here. So again,
$27 a month. That's a good deal.
it's a great
That's
deal,
a good
right?
deal.
Like I say, less than $1 a day.
To have a community of all like-minded people as we all get on this journey to make our health better, to get off the medications if you need to get off medications, to just feel better, have
Feel
more energy,
better, look better,
Get
have
more
better
life
relationships.
in your life. Right.
But also, this link will be available to anybody who you share it with, and anybody who comes on board will be at that price. It is going up after December 1st, and but for anybody who signs up before December 1st, it will never go.
It's a
above.
founder's price.
Exactly.
You can get in as a founding member and have that price.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, that's a good deal. That's a great deal.
We're going to have experts in there. We're going to have a live call at a minimum once a month. You're going to have a customized portal. It will be in there, just for you. And all of the calls will be in there for you to easily access. And we'll also, of course, have a private Facebook community because this, as I said, is a team sport. Community is one of the biggest pieces of lifestyle and lifestyle medicine. So that's it for our Friday night. I hope you guys have a fun rest of the weekend. Great Thanksgiving you guys soon. I will post the recipes that I talked about here in the group. And reach out if you need anything. The group will remain open, okay? So you guys can access everything that we've placed in there, and we're here for you. All right. Thanks a lot.
See you soon.
Bye, you guys. Good night.